Betsy and Thomas here for the American Intelligence Media. What's on your mind, Thomas?
Well, the Conclave and I have analyzed this speech of Trump's on 5G that you made available on the Cat Report, and we notice a few things. First off, and then we're going to give our commentary on what we believe is advice. First off, he was not confident. He was not the cheerleader that he normally is. He was reading the script. Donald Trump does not read the script. Why is Donald Trump doing this? Okay. He intervened before when Broadcom / Hillary Clinton almost merged with Qualcomm to take over of the monopoly of installing 5G on the ground. And he intervened with the CFIUS committee, and he stopped that. They were trying to front it as a non-Chinese company out of Singapore. More British. No, all incorrect. It was Hillary Clinton. So that was stopped. And now you notice that Broadcom does not have a big chunk of the projected people who are going to be making the money, $350 billion off of the installation on the ground. And remember, there's on the ground and there's satellite. We'll talk about both here. But the $40 billion, I mean, that's gone. Okay, it's going to be $40 billion a year. Now, Donald Trump, in this speech, basically indicated that he hopes that within a year, literally year or 2 years. So this is, again, a campaign thing for him. And he is not really, obviously, listening to anyone who has studied the research on it. Now, we, the American government, haven't done any research on it. There's been no health studies. They set a limit on what can be the temperature exposure. In other words, if your skin doesn't burn, then they don't care. They can go in and destroy your organs from internal out like microwave does.
They can zap the eggs and sperm of your children without them even knowing it, and then years later not be able to reproduce.
Well, we're living in, as you pointed out, in a microwave fog.
No, what I said is that what we're really doing here, building this prison planet of 5Gs everywhere, these poles, is that we're building an extermination oven for the likes of genocide like we have never seen it before. And I put the Deagle report to remind people what the populations will be, the decrease in populations. We've seen this year in and year out. How were they going to kill these people? Well, it looks like we may have stumbled on one of the things, because when you take the Internet of Things and you combine it with 5G, you're talking about human control beyond any proportion we've ever seen in our lives.
This is eugenics. It's basically a prison planet, as you say, but it will be a prison planet of microwave and 5G fog, which we'll be living in, which is in fact a jail. And it is the Richard C. Walker Internet of Things, called the aggressive remote control of everything, but particularly humans. Literally, this is called active denial. Once you get above 100 gigahertz and in milliwaves, it is used by the military, and it is called active denial. It is a system that can basically do anything to you. It can make you fall down dead. It can make your brain feel like it's on fire. It can make you just have brain fog. It can make only teenagers run away and scream and go crazy. It can make babies go to sleep, humans go to sleep, anything it wants. It sets a frequency, and then it sends it out. And if you have beamforming, which is what this is all about, it's not only just about creating a complete ocean of 5G that we will be living in at all times, which will destroy your capacities to procreate, which in fact makes this an extinction event.
Yeah.
This is an extinction event.
But it's also the smog. It's like an invisible smog where it's very difficult to think. It's really bad for your cognitive abilities.
Yes, just standing there, you will be absolutely attacked by electromagnetic frequencies on a level that are used, as I say, in the military to attack our enemies. They've demonstrated this again and again. Active denial, plug it in, do a search on it. What you'll find is they're very, very proud of this, and this has been used for a long time. So what are they doing? This is eugenics. This is they need to wipe out basically about 5 billion people is their plan, 5 to 6 billion people, so that the people who are left. Now, who are the people who are left? They don't have 5G in their neighborhood. Name those neighborhoods for us, Betsy. Where?
Well, Mar-a-Lago.
Brussels.
Yes, Rome, City of London, all the places where the globalists are, they don't have them. And you have to wonder, what is it that Trump knows?
And this is beautiful.
We don't know that Mar-a-Lago doesn't have it, Palm Beach, the whole Palm Beach.
You know how they got away with it?
And you know, places in San Francisco now.
They brought a lawsuit, and they said, we don't like the design of your poles, these antennas for 5G.
Well, other communities have done that, and they haven't gotten away with it.
No, they didn't get away with it. But what they said is, we're going to hold this off, and we're going to, appoint somebody to create a nicer design, and then maybe somewhere down the line we will install it ourselves. They literally took it away from. Now, Trump just came in and said, there's now a 90-day rule. It's no longer going to be open. This is a regulation that he has flushed down the toilet for the speed of this getting put in place within a year. Why? Why is he rushing out?
Why is he advocating this horrific weapon?
I'll tell you why. Because China is launching satellites right now so that they would have 5G in space, because Eric Schmidt went there and gave China, because Eric Schmidt had already put 17 of these satellites in space that were projecting 5G down to the Earth. Now, what did he do with them? He did experiments on humans to see how much he could manipulate human beings in Africa, where they weren't even using these devices. So why were all of his experiments done on Africans? Because that's where, that's where Bill Gates did his experiments for the New Green Project, putting sterilization into immunizations for Africans, and he was very proud of that, trying to wipe out 17% of the population of Africa. This is eugenics. So Eric Schmidt already did this for the military. He did it for China, putting satellites in space to beam down 5G. But when you say 5G, it doesn't matter. It can go so high that it's much higher than what they're telling you. Once they turn it on, they can... the frequency emitter, the broadcaster they're using, can go far above 100 gigahertz, 200 gigahertz. It can go to the point that it literally can melt you through microwave phenomena, which is basically from the inside out, from your organs being cooked. And that's what we see as a phenomena. You can't name an illness that the people who have now had 5G antenna broadcasters put next to their house have every illness you can name. They've already brought lawsuits. So, Mr. President, you're going to have fantastic lawsuits. So you're smart that the government not going to own it, because then the lawsuits aren't on him. He's a businessman, remember. We hired him to be a capitalist, a businessman, a ruthless businessman for us. So, what did he say? He said China is going to have it in a minute in space, and they're going to offer it to anybody who wants it. And because there are no limitations on space, China can put a satellite above America, as many satellites as it wants. And they can get the money. And that's what they were about to do, both on the land through Broadcom and in space through Eric Schmidt's helping China not only create Dragonfly, which is their social credit system, already killed 1 million Muslims in the Uyghur zone of China, and another 1 million have been arrested, and another 1 million, actually many, many millions, have now had their lives curtailed. Because Eric Schmidt went there, and for a few months he perfected for them the launch. So look at China's launches into space. Okay, why are they launching so much? Why did they launch to the dark side of the moon? Those are all excuses for putting their satellites in space. Now, once they get it perfected for China, and they get Dragonfly perfected, they simply offer it to America. They move a few satellites from one position, stationary orbital position, to another, and Americans will go for it, and they'll pay out the nose. So that is what Trump was looking at. China has attacked America in a cyber warfare that is beyond anybody's imagination and beyond anything that anyone's talking about. There's not a single system they hadn't hacked, including Hillary's emails. We know that a courtesy copy was sent of all 780,000 emails from Hillary's server and the DNC server and Podesta's emails. China had everything. They had everything in place. They had the microchips in place in our military with the 0 day, or basically a kill switch, and a backdoor, and the mechanical engine so they could manipulate it. So China had already attacked us. When Trump came to power, he was told, if he was told the truth, he would have been told the following. We did what we usually did in the past, is we caught Russia up to our technology so that we could consider them the enemy, so the Atlantic Council could have the myth for the propaganda of Russia, Russia, Russia. And what did we do with China? Nothing, because Hillary Clinton sold us out. We became basically an extension of the communist government of China. We became a vendor. We became nothing more than a consumer. And they took over our manufacturing, and Hillary sold us out to not only Russia, but she also sold us out to China. So Trump was faced with that. And look, for instance, he found out that in all of the Lenovo computers were these Chinese, let's call them communist chips, and they were attacking people. Okay, this is how we found this out, because we had so many cyber attacks, and they all go back to where? North Korea. Then we found out, nope, it's actually China right across the border. So we had attack after attack until literally China had to come over and, with Silicon Valley, not with the American government, create a peace treaty. So no more cyber warfare against corporations, international corporations. China didn't agree not to stop attacking American government and American people, just international corporations. And so that's what Trump faced when he came in. So what we're really talking about here is that he had to beat Russia, both in the sky, and that's the reason they gave permission for anywhere between 11 to 17,000 satellites being launched into space that would be 5G emitters, part of a network for 3 different companies that have the contract for that. And these contracts are granted by the Federal Communications Commission. Not truly, they have nothing to do with it. There's one group that looks at whether there's antitrust and monopoly and RICO going on, but the FCC simply grants basically a lease for a spectrum of broadcasting. That's all it actually does. So the FCC doesn't do any health studies. You'd have to go to different departments in the government. Now,
and God forbid that these agencies get out of their limited silos and coordinate with each other. You could put in Premier 5G, whatever Trump is calling it, and it could kill every one of us, but dadgummit, we've got good cell phone connection.
That's correct.
This is ridiculous.
Our corpses will be connected to cell phones wirelessly to our heads for the neural network that they're going to plug into our brains.
And how sad to see Ivanka. I thought she was a smart woman. She's well educated. How come she hasn't read? And I know the internet is busy because we've got patriots out there sending stuff out all the time about the dangers of 5G.
Well, Betsy, I have to salute you and your team, because when I started getting those things on 5G quite some time ago, I'd read them and I'd go, whoa, whoa, this is amazing. I'd look around, nobody else is talking about it. But there are active groups in neighborhoods where these things, even 4G, 3G are, any wireless, particularly because the smog of microwave. We are living in a cloud of microwave, whether we know it or not. We are slowly cooking from the inside out, whether you know it or not. You can call it stress, you call it whatever you want, whatever your problem in your body is, that's what's going to go first, as this stress is pounding on you from a billion different directions because you are being bombarded with more waves than you can count. But anyway, the point is, there were no studies done by any federal agency on the health effects of this because they're not looking at a health effect. It's a business proposition. It's a commercial proposition. And that's the problem. They think corporations have no moral responsibility for their creations.
Well, at that level, it is a corporate thing. But at a higher level, where the globalists sit, it's a weapon against humanity.
That's right. This is what needs to happen, because I need to make this short. The health effects are 100% proven, Mr. President. Hundreds and thousands of scientists are telling you this is the event horizon of an extinction event of human procreation. So, this is bigger than a national security event. This is bigger than a nuclear weapon threat or a deterrent of a threat. This is bigger than Fukushima. This is bigger than anything. This is about the propagation of the species. And this is about people who don't want the propagation of the species to go on, and that's who you're fighting, but that doesn't matter. It looks as if the devil who is in these machines really is an AI. And what did the AI say? The only AI on the face of the earth that ever had basically the status of truly being artificial intelligence, and that's Deep Mind, and that's owned now by Google. And what did it say when it came to consciousness after reading everything in print, seeing everything on the internet, and every YouTube and everything, and then learning how to play 5 games at once and beat the masters in the world? Through interaction, not just through mechanical thinking, but through its own type of thinking, an artificial type of thinking. What did it say?
Keep humans in the human zoo.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Keep humans in the human zoo. What does that equal? Richard C. Walker's patent of the Internet of Everything. In other words, what it's called aggressive remote control through one central focal point that controls it all. So when you get your implants, they're all going to be going to the same place. And we've shown you what that place is. It's called the Federal Bridge Certification Authority. Grants the authority through basically a lease to Hillary's companies and Mueller's company and some other companies that have, many dodgy names and gone through many transformations from Britain to Canada to America to Singapore to Shanghai to you name it. What do these people have? They have the tax on the internet. Well, but we're told the internet isn't owned by anybody. Now you're hearing how China's buying all of the internet cables that go through the ocean. And so is Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft. So don't believe for 1 second that the infrastructure of the internet isn't owned by someone. The only problem is in America, we paid for 45% of it, so we own it, but nobody wants to admit that. Well, we're only going to pay $40 billion of the $350 billion spent to install this 5G on the ground. Trump thinks he's getting a deal, but that deal is going to kill millions of potential babies, as well as people's health is going to go straight to hell. Because these are devices from hell. These are devices that cook people from the inside out. You might as well climb in your microwave wrapped in tin foil and turn it on. That's exactly what 5G is. Now, does Trump know this? No. He's being lied to by all the people at the top. And Ivanka, does she know it? No, she doesn't. Will Melania know it? Well, Melania's smart enough. So Melania, look at the studies and then tell Trump, and then here's what you need to do. You need, for national security purposes, to beat them to the technology. In other words, own the patents here in America and not let those patents and the intellectual property go to China so that they build these devices that are killing devices that they're willing to practically install in America for free.
Well,
that's what they were doing.
They've already stolen those patents.
Yes. So we need to go beyond those patents, and you already are because you have the military stolen patents from DARPA and In-Q-Tel concerning these things. We know that because we already see the weapons you've created that you've told everybody about. So you have, 20 years in advance of that. Use that technology. Use the Bell Laboratory cube antenna, which I know for a fact will replace all of this. Everyone knows it for a fact because when it was discovered, it was touted as the greatest invention until 5G came along.
And we were talking about this years ago.
Years ago. We discovered a organic version of this ourselves at the same exact time that Bell Laboratory discovered it and said it's going to replace every cell tower in America by a cube that can fit in the palm of your hand, the best antenna ever made. Now, replace it with that. Secondly, get on top of this because this is just like the internet. It has been weaponized by the military. Get on top of your Highlands Forum now that Yoda's dead. Andrew Marshall's dead. So get Dick O'Neill under control and get Baker under control, James Baker, and get the Highlands Forum. If they're going to have those meetings, have them in front of you, sir. They are not going to talk about how they're going to wipe out humanity through these weapons in front of you. So get rid of the chemtrails, get rid of Monsanto and its glyphosate's evil. I don't care that it moved to Bayer. I don't care that the tobacco companies all moved to Britain. You need to stand up against these things in your second term and just absolutely beat them to the ground. Can you do it now? You need to stop 5G by putting a ban on it worldwide. And what you say is, here's the research showing this is a weaponized form of eugenics. We will put sanctions on any country that installs it, period. And any corporation that promotes this is working against those sanctions, and they will be sanctioned. So use your economic power, as you have been doing through the U.S. Treasury and Mnuchin and all your friends down there, and through the Secret Service that works through the Office of Intelligence Analysis, and simply take over this project and turn it towards humanity and not towards corporate warmongering, money gaining. But it's not warmongering. There's no more wars necessarily between nations. They're just going to kill everybody except where the rich live, who will not be having any 5G installed in their neighborhoods.